On the Track is a monthly web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues, and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy.
Coming up this week.
This remarkable film, directed by our own Mr. Jonathan Downes.
Hello everybody, my name's Hennis and welcome to another episode On the Track. I'm a chicken, but my friend Mr. Simon from Denmark thinks that I'm a Gnostic Archon, and I don't know what that means. But you can't argue with anybody from Denmark because they've got mermaids and they make my favourite biscuits. So maybe I should be a Gnostic Archon, whatever that means.
All hail the Magister of 365 levels!
Can I have a biscuit, please?
Of course you can, Hennis.
Oh, hello, Wally. What's in today's show? Hello, my name is Wally the Comedy Rhinoceros, and I am an international film star, and as such I am the cinema expert for this web TV show. And so it is my great privilege and pleasure to be able to introduce this remarkable film directed by our own Mr. Jonathan Downes, which was shown to great public acclaim at the recent Weird Weekend North Film Festival. Enjoy.
I really like the old credits.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is John Downes. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, but that's got nothing to do with what I'm here to talk to you about today. Or rather it does, but not exactly. Many years ago, I used to work for a man called Steve Harley, who sadly died last year. He was an old mate of mine. He was probably my biggest influence musically, and the two of us fell out incredibly badly and never really made up again. But back in 1973, on his first record, there was a song which went, "My only vice is the fantastic prices, a charge for being eaten alive," or something like that. And that is fairly relevant to what I'm going to talk about today, because I'm going to talk about me and the experience of me being eaten alive.
So what have we got?
It's an interesting looking box. It's got a security strip on it and it says critical there. So look at that, urgent medical supplies.
Well,
I think the Critical Maggots sounds like a sort of early 1980s punk band.
We're the critical maggot! We're the critical maggot!
Well, we'll soon see what's in it if the district nurse arranges a visit this afternoon, which he rings he can.
But I really hope they do, because not only do I want to have my dressing changed on my foot, and there, just to show that I'm doing this all in one take, there is my foot. Not only do I want to have my dressing changed, but I'm really looking forward to seeing them putting the maggots on, aren't you?
It'll probably just look like a thick patch, I imagine, because they're not roaming loose or anything, so it might not look as interesting as it sounds.
No, but I'm sure we can play it for laughs.
I expect so. And Archie can come and watch.
Here I think there should probably be a trigger warning, because I'm just about to show you some fairly revolting images. I'm a diabetic, and my feet are in particularly poor condition. Indeed, in the summer before last, I ended up having my big toe on my right foot amputated. And I have difficulty in walking, and basically I waddle around the house like a duck using a walking frame or a walking stick. And whenever I go out, I have to have a wheelchair. Earlier this year, I managed to damage my right foot. I don't know how I did it. It's not the first time I did it. It wasn't, as events will show, wasn't even the last time I've done it. But I damaged it quite badly. And the first photograph that was taken when I first went to the podiatry department about it is particularly revolting. Check this out. The sweet girls at the podiatry department at the local hospital did their best to tend the wound, to cut off the bits of necrotic tissue, and to dress it with specialist things, mostly containing iodine, that would help it to repair itself and for fresh, normal flesh to grow back. But as you can see from this picture, it didn't happen as quickly as they wanted, and you can see large amounts of necrotic tissue still there in the middle of the wound. By the way, just in case you didn't know, necrotic tissue is dead tissue which is in a wound or a part of the body of a living person or animal. And before they could actually make it so my wound had the optimum chance of recovering, they had to get rid of the necrotic tissue, which is when they informed me that they were going to prescribe maggots. Now, this is something that interested me particularly, and which is why I'm making this film about it today. It's because I've always been interested in well-known animals which turn up doing extraordinary or obscure jobs, and a bit like canaries in coal mines, and leeches still being used to remove blood from a patient. Now, they are still using maggots to eat away the necrotic tissue. This is something that has been done for hundreds, if not thousands of years. I have seen it said. I've seen it written, but I can't actually find the citation, that it was something that the ancient Romans used to do. And now, in 2025, I was going to have it happen to me. And I was really rather excited by the prospect.
You're not as excited as us, boyo. Yes, we've got fat hippies for tea.
Apparently, the movie Gladiator shows somebody having their wounds from a gladiatorial battle treated with maggot therapy. And there are various places on the internet that you can find claims that this was quite widespread in ancient Rome. But nowhere have I actually found a proper citation that I can quote for this, so it's got to remain hearsay for the moment. But it is certain that maggot therapy was used in Renaissance times and down the ages to the Napoleonic Wars, and now it's being used again. Now, there's only one place in Britain that breeds maggots for surgical uses, and this is a farm in Wales. I contacted them to try to get a representative from this farm, who are, like I said, the only people in Britain breeding these flies, these maggots, for eating necrotic tissue of NHS patients. But they didn't answer when I requested an interview. Probably they'd seen my regular web TV show in which I dress as a chicken and sometimes sing stupid songs. But Graham suggested that it was possible that the email I had sent hadn't got through, and so we tried again.
Hello, it's Graham Inglis calling. I'm a zoological journalist, and I'm just wondering if it'd be possible to line up an interview with somebody at Biomond. So it's for a online podcast. I'm just wondering if you've got a contact detail possibly for someone I can... Oh, right. Rightio. Hello. Oh, right, okay. Sure. Oh, right, no dot. Right, you are. Okay, yeah, I got that then. Right. Thanks. Cheers. Bye-bye. Cheers.
In the meantime, we had to go to the hospital so I could have an x-ray to my foot to make sure that I hadn't got osteomyelitis, which is, by the way, an infection to the bone itself. For some reason, I wasn't allowed to film myself having an x-ray done. All the other places in the hospital and all the other NHS staff with whom I've dealt over the years look with amused tolerance upon my cinematic activities and usually think it's quite funny. But the x-ray department for some reason wouldn't let me take film, even though it was my own foot that was being x-rayed. Graham, God bless him, tried to do what the CFZ always do when faced with a piece of officialdom, and he tried to do it anyway, but they saw him and stopped him and made him wipe the video. I don't like going to Barnstable Hospital. They're always very kind to me there, but it is where both my parents died, and it's where both Karina and my darling mother-in-law spent large amounts of their final illnesses, and so it's not a place that has happy memories for me. And once the results of the x-rays came through, and luckily I did not have osteomyelitis, and there was no visible infection, they examined me thoroughly to see whether I was fit enough to have maggots put on my foot.
Nothing but the best for us, boyo. We're particular about whose rotting flesh we gorge ourselves upon.
And then, a day or so later, along came a lovely nurse, whom I actually knew because she had been one of the ladies who attended upon Karina in her final illness, and I'd been impressed by how kind and gentle and sweet she and all the other women had been. She came along and was just as kind, gentle and sweet in dealing with my revolting foot.
I do apologise, the smell's very rancid today.
It does, doesn't it? When did they do it for you?
Monday?
Do you want a trash bag for waste? Oh,
No,
you've got
you're all
something
right,
there.
thanks.
I see.
Thank you.
Got something there to put it on.
Lovely. It does smell, doesn't it? So we're
As she cut the dressing off, one could see why in historical novels you hear descriptions of how badly wounds smell, because by God, my foot was revolting. At one point, it was as if I had a dead fish grafted to it. As she cleaned the wound, I told her that I was making a film about the whole affair, and she thought that was massively funny. She said we could use film of our hands, we could even use her voice, but she didn't want her face to be shown, which I think is fair enough, and I wouldn't have done anyway without her permission.
Well, nobody bloody well asked our permission, did they? No, we didn't have to sign any release forms about our lovely visages being used.
Being eaten alive.
It's gonna be, you're gonna feel something, can't you, Jonathan? So just to let you know to expect a little bit of pain. Do you take regular pain relief?
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
And also I can't really feel anything in my feet anyway, so when they cut the toe off I couldn't feel anything. The weirdest thing is the only one of my toes that I can actually move or feel is the one that isn't there anymore.
And then we'll just apply some more gauze tomorrow. So, because the maggots like to stay in a damp, I think the reason we have to come every day is because the maggots like a damp. Does that make sense?
Mm.
So we just... So I'm going to get the maggots out, George. So I'll tell you when to start.
Well, I'm still filming. I've just got it on. I've got about a little.
Here's the maggots for you.
They're not very big, are they?
Well, apparently there's 100. Look at them.
I want to know what species they're. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and get the contact details.
They're really active, though. They're really active. See, once we put...
Let's see. Close up.
They got big teeth.
Very big.
Graham, they're invertebrates. They don't have teeth. They might have chitinous
They
plates,
suck.
but...
God. Right, let's give these their dinner. They're hungry.
I should have said chitinous rather than chitinous, but dear sweet Richard Freeman tells me that I'm not the only person who has actually got that word wrong.
In 1973, there was an absolutely brilliant Doctor Who story called The Green Death, set in Wales, where industrial waste is being pumped into an abandoned mine. And this waste causes maggots to mutate into 3-foot-long horrors the size of salamis that come swarming out of the slag heaps, glowing green, and they've got a deadly bite that makes their victims turn green and die. And in one part, the brigadier is trying to shoot the maggots and the bullets are bouncing off, and the doctor says they've got hard chitinous plates to protect them. And somebody actually wrote in after this saying how John Pertwee was wrong. He says, I'm just writing to tell you it's chitin, because he should have pronounced it chitinius instead of chintinius. That doesn't stop him being the best Doctor Who ever. My Uncle Llewellyn was in that, in The Green Death. He was on the telly with Doctor Who. Oh, I remember him. He was bloody great with John Pertwee and Katie Manning and Nicholas Courtney as the Brigadier. Oh, Katie Manning, she posed naked with a Dalek later on. Oh, she was a tasty piece, wasn't she, Katie Manning? And no mistake.
Well, enough of the sexist Welsh maggots. Back to the story. They came back 5 days later and they took the maggots away. And I was quite upset because after all the sterling work they'd done, the poor little maggots were going to go straight to the incinerator. But actually what they did, they just dumped them in my kitchen bin. A couple of days after that, we had the second bunch of maggots put on my foot, and a week later we had the third and final maggots put on my foot. And when it came to the final lot of little Welsh maggots, I decided I was going to give them a happier life than the one that had been destined for them by the National Health Service. It transpired that the species of fly that was used to breed the maggots, which were happily eating away at the remains of the rotting flesh on the side of my heel, was Lucilia caesar, a member of the fly family Calliphoridae, commonly known as blowflies. L. caesar is commonly referred to as the common greenbottle, although this name may also refer to L. sericata, which isn't green. The adult flies typically feed on pollen and nectar of flowers. The larvae feed mainly on carrion, and I suppose my foot was carrion. Lucilia caesar is predominantly from Europe, Asia, and North Africa. To induce diapause for the L. caesar, the flies need a number of factors, such as environmental desiccation, aeration, being in a range with low temperatures, and having a reliable food source for the growing larvae. In 2019, maggots of this species were discovered as myiasis in a wild boar in Italy. Myiasis, by the way, also known as fly strike or fly strike, is the parasitic infestation of the body of a live animal by fly larvae, or maggots, that grow inside the host while feeding on its tissue. Well, I have no doubt that if these maggots, which, by the way, look at them, look how big they've grown. They are so much bigger and more impressive looking than the tiny, almost microscopic things that were brought to my feet first 3 weeks before. But I have no doubt that if they hadn't been encased in that tea bag-like material, that they would have burrowed inside my body and become a fly-strike infestation there. All good jolly fun, eh? Well, I've always been broadly sympathetic to the animal rights lobby, and so when the final collection of maggots were summarily cast aside into my kitchen bin, I made a few phone calls, and later that night... Well, I always keep trail cameras in my kitchen just in case of a visit by a passing cryptid. You never know when the purple rail of Heaver is going to turn up rootling around the bins. And look what happened. We had two mysterious masked visitors, one brandishing a knife, and they made their way, slowly but surely, towards my pedal bin. They took something out of the pedal bin and then vanished, never to be seen again. It's now a few days later, and I've just received this mysterious box in the post, and if you hold it up to my ear, you can hear a buzzing sound. As a professional cryptozoologist, I'm very good at deductive reasoning, and I was pretty sure I knew what was in that box. And, even more importantly, I knew what I was going to have to do about it. So I got Graham to drive me out to the woods.
Go! Fly free, my pretties! Fly free with your own kind!
Born free as the green. We belong.